Hello and welcome back to episode 1 of my tutorial series. In this episode, I'll be showing you how to create a world using Minecraft Java Edition 1.20.5. When you first launch the game, you'll see this screen right here. It shows the title, what edition you're doing, and some splash text. Mine is currently 3 dots and an exclamation point. So to start everything off, the button you want to click is single player. So you just hover your mouse over it and left click on it. You'll get this screen. This is your worlds screen. If you have any pre-created worlds, you can select them by left clicking, and you can place selected worlds. You can also edit, delete, and recreate the world if you'd like. If you have nothing here, the button to press will be the Create New World button. You left click on that. Now it opens up this window. You have Game, World, and More up at the top here. When you click on each of these, it takes you to a new tab. Each tab has its own thing on it. So for More, it has game rules, experiments, and data packs. Don't worry about any of these. I'm not going to talk about them in this video. The ones that I'll be talking about now is Game and World. So let's start with Game. So you see here it has world name. You can name this anything you want. So what I'll name it is tutorial. Just to start us off. I can name it tutorial, you can name it tutorial, or you can name it Dave. I don't know why I use Dave, but Dave. You can name it Dave if you want to. So next you have the game modes. There are 3 different game modes you can select from here. There's survival, hardcore, and creative. There's 2 other game modes once you get into the game called adventure and spectator. I'm going to talk about each of these right now. To start us off, let's do creative. Creative lets you build anything you'd like to, and you have access to all the blocks in the game. And you can build anything you'd like, you can destroy things, you can place down TNT, light it, and watch everything explode, which is a very fun thing to do. Now the next thing is survival. Survival is different from creative because you have health, you have hunger, and that hunger is affected by difficulty down here. On peaceful difficulty, your hunger bar goes down not at all. On easy difficulty, your hunger bar goes down slightly, but very slowly. On normal, your hunger bar goes down at, well, a normal rate. And hard, it goes down quite a bit. And finally, we have hardcore. Hardcore is always set in hard, and you cannot have commands on. Hardcore is a little different from the other 2, where if you die for good. You can't reopen the world and play on it. You can only spectate the world. So unless you have a backup saved, you can no longer play on that world. Now, the other 2 modes, adventure and spectator, you can only access through the game. So once you've created a world, you can press /game mode and you can select these other 2 options. Now, I'm going to talk about adventure. Adventure mode is the same as survival, except you can't break or place blocks, and you can only open chests and interact with objects. The reason for this is for, let's say you're a map creator, and you want to create a map where you don't want people to have access to certain blocks. You can turn it into an adventure mode map, and they can't do anything if they don't have a specific block. Now, the final one is spectator mode, and spectator mode allows you to fly around, clip through things, scope out the landscape. When you go underground, it only shows the gaps. So if there's a cave below you, it won't show any of the stone or anything around you, it'll just show that cave. Next thing I'm going to talk about is difficulty. I already talked about how hunger is affected by difficulty, but also mob spawning or hostile mob spawning is also affected by difficulty. On peaceful, there's no hostile monsters that can spawn at all. The second you go to easy, they can spawn, but they spawn in sparse numbers. So monsters will spawn, let's say, per each night, maybe 10 will spawn. Normal mode, mobs will spawn more than easy mode, maybe about 20 per night. And finally, there's hard. Hard spawns in quite a bit. Instead of 20 mobs per night, you might get 50 or 40 mobs per night, which means if you're playing on hard, you should build a house as fast as possible, find a bed, and place that bed down so you can sleep through the night and have to skip all of this. Now, when creating a world, it's good when starting off to go into creative, peaceful mode, or easy depending on if you want hostile mobs. Hostile mobs do not hurt you if you're creative. And I'll recommend for this is having allow commands on. A good thing to remember before I move on, when you're creating a world, after you've typed in the name, don't press enter. Just click away, click on something else, because if you press enter, it automatically creates the world, and if you press escape, the escape key in your top left corner, it will exit back out and you'll lose all your progress on world creation. And you don't want to lose progress in world creation. Next, we have the worlds options. You have 5 different world types. You have default, super flat, large biomes, amplified, and finally single biome. Normally worlds will be on default, and default just makes it so that you have the default landscape, you have trees, you have mountains, you have caves, you have a bunch of other things. When you go to super flat, you will have structures, mobs, and you'll just have a flat landscape. The world will also be only about 4 blocks tall, unless you count structures, in which will be more, but only 4 blocks tall. So if you dig down 4 blocks, you're falling right into the void and you're dying immediately, which you don't want to do. Next is large biomes. Large biomes is basically the same as default, except everything is like 10 times the size. And so large biomes is only if you don't want to find biomes ever again. Next up, we have amplified. Amplified basically makes it so that the world that you had as default, depending on the seed, if you had the same seed as the previous world, it would be an amplified version of that world. But if it had a seed for a different world, then it'd be completely different. I'll talk about seeds in a moment. But amplified basically makes things like large biomes, except instead of wide and long, they make it tall and crazy high. And as it says here, it's notice, just for fun, you require a beefy computer. So if you can't run a world with more than 30 frames per second, don't try amplified, because your game will crash. And finally, we have single biome. Single biome has a range of biomes. When you press on this customize button here, you can customize which biome you want. And as you can see, there's a lot of biomes. Currently, it has selected plains, but you can select ocean, nether wastes, mushroom fields. You can select any of them, and when you want it, press done, and that's the world that it will create with that biome. Now onto seeds. Seeds are what the world identifies as. So if you leave it blank, then it selects a random world, a random seed, a random number. If you want to have a specific seed that, let's say you saw a YouTube video or a TikTok video about that specific seed, you can then type in, let's say I type in -4832. That's a seed. You can also type in the positive of that and have it just be 4832. You can also type letters. So I'm going to once again use Dave. And Dave will be a specific seed, and it will be different from having any of the letters be lowercase or uppercase. So you could have Dave be all lowercase, or you could have Dave E, where the last E is uppercase. But all of these will be different seeds. So I'm going to leave it blank just to have it be random. Next up, we have structures. This button allows you to generate structures in your world. If you have it off, it means that you will not get villages, shipwrecks, ruins, stuff like that. And finally, this is good for new starters. Bonus chest. I'm going to turn it on so I can show it off. The bonus chest, basically, it gives you a chest plus 4 torches surrounding the chest, so it lights up the area for you. And inside that chest will be some starter tools, some planks, maybe even some food. And it just gives you that automatically, so you don't have to go looking for it, and you can instead just have it. And after you've chose all your things, you can go back to game to check if your settings are the ones you want it to be. So my name, tutorial, mode, creative, difficulty, easy, and allow commands on. Now you can either press enter or go down here and left click on the new world button, and that will create your world. And it'll show this little loading screen, and there we go. You have a world. There you have it. There's your world. And there's the bonus chest. So the bonus chest, as I said before, when you open it, will have some items in it. If you enjoyed this video, you can give it a like, maybe comment your thoughts down below. Maybe you can even subscribe. You don't need to though, but it will help out a lot. Goodbye.